live.
Mm.
All right. Welcome to another episode of Studio X 27. I am your host X, and today we have a very, very special guest. None other than my actual uncle, Medrick Smith. Welcome to the podcast, Medrick. I really appreciate you taking some time out to be on the podcast. How you feeling?
I'm feeling wonderful. Good evening to all those out there in the podcast community.
So here at Studio X, what we do is a cold open where you have an opportunity to kind of, let us know where you're from. Give me a little bit of background about your upbringing. You know, so
Well,
well,
is it on me? Okay.
it's on you, big dog.
So, again, my name is Medrick Smith. I was born in Houston, Texas, raised and kind of grew up in Beaumont, and then relocated to East Texas, where I matriculated through junior high and high school. For those who don't know, I'm talking about Texas, the most southern part of Texas, not far from Galveston, not far from Louisiana.
Oh, see, here you go.
Yeah. Well, because I don't know your fan base, so I just want to cover my bases. We say soda water down south. We don't say pop or all those other things. And when we say refrigerator, that's the same as an ice box. So do with that with it as you will.
You say Fidget is over there in
Yeah,
the.
in the refrigerator. It's in the refrigerator. Or if we tell you to hit the dough, we mean get out the door. For those who don't know what the dough is, it's like four for four.
The stove.
We want we want the four for four. We don't ask for the four for four. We want the four for four.
See, this is I can't be serious with you. Three.
Well, whenever you're ready for me to be serious, just say that, and we can get to right to the point. We can get to the topic at hand.
So give me your upbringing. What was life a young Medrick coming up?
Well, where do I begin? To take you on that journey, I would have to start with, well, let's see. So my upbringing began in the Houston area. Like I said, I was born in Houston. My parents separated when I was 2 years old. That's also around the same time that I found out I would be an uncle at the age of 2 years old because my blessed siblings decided to procreate, be fruitful and multiply, so to speak. But that's another story altogether, ladies and gentlemen. That's not the topic at hand. So yeah, I was a product of the two parent not living together, but still raising your children. So I just want to let people know right now that it is possible to still raise kids, even if you and that other parent aren't together. Don't ever feel discouraged or neglected or feel like it's not possible because I'm a living witness that two people who aren't together can still raise successful children.
At what age were you when they separated?
Like I said, I want to say my mom and dad got divorced um probably in 88, 89. So I was around two, maybe going on 3 years old
Oh, so you didn't
because
know what
so
happened.
yeah. So I don't really have memories of my parents being married, but like I said, if you'd have ever met my parents, you'd have never known that they weren't married because, again, they had such a good relationship that you couldn't tell that they weren't married. They still treated each other with enough love and respect that it didn't affect me or my sister because that's a big thing, especially in the black community, is divorce is real frowned upon or looked at as a negative, but there are some divorced families that actually make it work. But it takes two willing adults to put pride to the side and decide what's best for those kids. And arguing and fighting and throwing up that you're gonna put somebody on child support or things like that, that's not beneficial or helpful for that child. So I'm grateful that I never had to witness any of that. My dad never disrespected my mom, and my mom never talked bad about my father. Like she didn't call him sorry. So that's why I say again, I never knew that the dynamic in my mind, they were married. They just didn't live in the same house. One parent lived in Houston and the other one stayed in Beaumont. But again, I never saw them as not together because every time I looked up, you saw one, you saw the other one. Like my mama didn't worry about disciplining me. She called my daddy. And even though he was an hour or something away, some kind of way, he get here in 20, 25 minutes.
Right.
Like Domino's or Pizza Hut. He was there to discipline.
Oh, that ass whooping was free.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You say did what? Oh, on the way. You get a knock at the door. Well dang, how you get in that fast?
what was what was that dynamic like, living with your mom? That whole separation.
Um, well, I wouldn't want to say that I was a mama's boy, but after my mom passed in 21, I can honestly say that I really was a mama's boy. And it wasn't so much that I didn't love my dad, it was just I knew I could get away with stuff with my mom that I couldn't really get away with my dad. My dad held me to a higher standard, and looking back on it now that I have my own son, he was only doing that to instill manly values in me, so that when I did get older, I would know how to carry myself in society.
Mm,
So being raised by my mother like I said, she never talked bad about my father. And to be honest, I always felt like I had more living with my mom than my dad because, again, my dad, it wasn't that he didn't want to do the same things or give me and my sister the same opportunities that my mom was able to do. It's just that they came from different backgrounds and different demographics. So on the one hand, my mom had all access and opportunity for everything in life handed to her. You came from a well respected family. Your mom was a nurse of 40 plus years. So you had a definite leg up. Whereas my dad, you basically like the young folks say, you had to get it how you live. You had to get it out the mud. So you had to try to navigate through life on life terms, and you always didn't make the best decision. But like I said, he wasn't an absentee parent either. So again, you was always there. You always showed up. You came to school functions and things like that. So again, I never experienced the single parent household because my mom never withheld us from my father. Anytime he wanted us, come get them to keep them right, however long you need, long as they back Monday morning for school. Goodbye. She give us a little money for the weekend, packed our luggage, and we gone. So that's why I say going through this similar experience in my own life right now with my child, I never imagined it going the way that it's been going, nor did I see this portrayed, like I said, growing up. So it's been kind of a struggle for me because I'm recently divorced and it wasn't like I pictured it, God forbid, even getting divorced, but it wasn't like I saw. I didn't end up with the divorce that my parents had. Um, I've been drugged through the mud as far as the child custody and things of that nature. So I'm saying all that to say every picture ain't perfect, but you still have to look for the color inside the lines
right.
because you always gonna have some little mistakes, some little mess ups, some hiccups, but it's not about. Well, I even told you this a few years ago before you met your wife and moved to Ohio. I told you a lot of the times I look at your life, and I even told you that I respect the man that you are, because I hate that little cliche, oh, you take lemons and make lemonade. No, you took lemons and opened up a lemonade factory because the upbringing that you had and the things like that, you had every excuse in the book to not be where you are today, to not have a podcast where you're trying to encourage or help the next person along. You didn't have that as a model. You didn't have the LeBron James as your parent or your mentor. You didn't have all that. You know what it is to eat noodles as your breakfast, lunch, and dinner. To be responsible for siblings and you a child yourself.
Facts.
Not coming to the door, even if it is your family member, because your parent told you don't answer the door. So those experiences that we have growing up, you have one or two choices. You can either allow those experiences to shape you and create you into who God designed you to be, or you can allow those experiences to make you give up and fold. But those are the only two options we get in this life. You're either going to allow it to propel you as a stepping stone, which is what God created it for, or you're going to allow it to become a hindrance and you never move forward. You never go and reach that full potential. And then you're looking at everybody else where they had all these opportunities. The Bible tells us that God gives all the equal opportunity to everybody. It rains on the just as well as the unjust. And everybody gets their shot. But what do you do with it? One of my favorite quotes, well, I got two quotes, but one of my favorite quotes that I love came from a movie that I wouldn't have expected it to come from, which was Uncle Drew. And it's a beautiful saying that he told that boy in the movie. He said, "You miss 100% of the shots you don't take," meaning you don't know how close you are to your next yes, but you got to take that first step.
Yeah.
Like even in jumping into this arena of podcasts, you got people been doing podcasts for years, but now all of a sudden, because of COVID and people having to be pushed indoors, this has become the new platform to get your message out there. People are being more and more exposed because if you look at it, the most famous people that I've ever seen that blew up from just YouTube was Justin Bieber and the boy Soldier Boy. They was the first YouTube sensations. They came out of nowhere overnight off of a YouTube video that they made. Both of them.
Yep.
And now they household names. So I get it. But at the end of the day, they would not have gotten to where they are today in the industry that they're in had they not taken that leap of faith. And the one thing I know about taking leaps is it always feels crazy or anxious because it's the unknown. So as humans, we fear the unknown because we always got to have it figured out. We know what we're gonna do tonight, what we're doing in the morning. We got our alarm set, we got our plans made. But the moment one thing goes wrong or goes off, now we in a tizzy. We don't know what to do. It's like our world has crashed and we panic.
Yeah.
But that's the opportunity to be like, okay, if you're not a believer, whatever your higher power or your meditation is, you have to stop and think, what are you trying to show me in this moment? Maybe I need to have patience. Maybe that's what you're trying to teach me in this moment is to be patient rather than panic and flip out because one thing went wrong. You missed the whole 99 things that went right because we focus on the one thing that went wrong.
How do you help somebody keep their faith when they feel like their world is coming down?
So for me, in my personal experiences, I feel like I totally relate with what Paul said when he said that he was a chief sinner. And if I let people know half of the things that I've gone through in just my 37 years of living, people would be surprised and shocked that I'm still going forward. Like I say, this journey is not by no means an easy journey, but it's doable. The thing you have to decide within yourself is, am I going to stay in my situation, or am I going to try to look beyond the situation to see the end, to see that I'm coming out strong? It's just like the question you asked about encouraging somebody to keep the faith. It's the same way as a person who decides they want to work out for the first time. So, right, you go into the gym. First thing you do is you see everybody in there working out. So now you're thinking to yourself, okay, now I'm gonna be expected to do X, Y, and Z. That's a lie from the enemy. That's your own mind trying to defeat you before you even get started. The fact that you walked inside the gym, you should give yourself props for that. Because just a few hours ago, you were sitting on the couch with the Subway sandwich, eating fresh.
That's a big step.
So I'm just saying, we don't. So this is my thing about keeping the faith, and I want to try to say it and make it plain enough where people will receive it. But we don't give ourselves enough credit for the small victories that we have in life. Like for instance, those of you are people who struggle with depression. The fact that you got up that morning, even if it was just to cut the light off in your bedroom, you got to give yourself credit for just getting up. Even if you just took 2 steps to cut a light off and laid back in the bed miserable and sunken in your bed. Give yourself credit that you got up and shut that light off. Give yourself credit that you you made a decision consciously to not sit in the bed, even if it was just for a second. And that's where we as human beings, we have to allow people and give people the grace to fail. And we don't do that as a society, a community, as a people. We so much caught up in the things that go on in other people's lives that we miss out on everything that's going on in our own lives.
Yep.
We quick to run to social media for everything now.
Yep.
I guarantee you, whenever you do end up posting this, whether a person likes what I'm saying or they disagree with what I'm saying, they're going to feel like they're entitled to share your opinion. But this is the thing about an opinion. Yes, your opinion is valid, but it's only valid to you. You can't dictate how I interpret your opinion. Only I can do that. And I have to choose within myself if I'm going to allow your opinion to mean more to me than what my father has told me about myself. And when I say my father, I don't mean my earthly father. I'm talking about my heavenly father.
Talking about.
But again, you Cat Williams said it best.
Uh-oh.
I can't be responsible for your self-esteem. It's called self-esteem, meaning esteem of your MF self. So therefore, if you tell me that I can control your self-esteem, you've given me too much power and authority in your life. Hello, somebody. And that's our problem in today's society and in world. We have given our power and authority to entities that don't give two red nickels about us, meaning social media, meaning the news media in general, and God forbid, even podcasters. Nobody genuinely cares about what you have to say or what you do because we live in a self-centered society right now. You look at it every day as you step out your house, you see the self-centeredness. People don't say thank you no more. They barely open the door for you. They got the tipping culture now. They don't even want to leave a tip, whether you had bad service or great service. They feel disrespected because you asked for a little nickel out their check, out their money.
How do you tip? What's the best way to tip?
So this is my thing. I base my tip. I
Yes.
base my
Let
huh?
me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Is the tip based on how much the bill was or based on the service given? Because some people say, listen to me. Some people say, well, hell, your payment came out to $100. Why you only gave me $5? But then some people say it shouldn't matter if it's 100 or 1,000 or $5 for some pancakes. I'm gonna give you what I got. And then you got the flip side that say, well, I gave you more than 10, 20% of my bill because I just like how nice you was to me. So is it about the price or the service?
So I can answer this question on both sides of the spectrum because I've been a waiter and I've been in the delivery field as well as I've also been a patron. So from the patron standpoint, I base my tipping off of I do my tipping like I do my tithes. I'm gonna give you 10% regardless, whether you was great or whether you was horrible. And I do that because that's an even playing field. Because now I don't have to base my giving off your behavior because that shouldn't matter to me. If I'm a giver regardless. My giving has nothing to do with you and everything to do with who I am.
Right.
And at the end of the day, you're not going to stop me from being me. Now, you can end up with more than a 10% based off your attitude and your attentiveness to my needs. Because again, as the patron, I'm coming to you to say that I'm lazy. I ain't feel like cooking tonight. I want you to take care of me. You're basically catering to my every need. You're my butler or my maid in that hour that I'm sitting at your establishment. So you're getting paid based on how you treat me. But now on the flip side of that, as the deliverer, the delivery driver, or the person that's the waiter, then my mindset is I know I need you. And see, that's where it comes back to these people that's doing this tip culture, like these Door Dashers or the Uber Eats and all that, y'all are self-entitled. Y'all got a sense of entitlement. If they never gave you a tip, if you genuinely love what you do, it shouldn't matter. Shouldn't matter what nobody bless you with or don't bless you with. Because whether you serving Bill Gates or you bringing the DoorDash to the man on the corner because he didn't feel like walking down 10 blocks to get to the McDonald's, it should not matter what they give. Because if it's me, if I'm treating you like I want to be treated, I'm gonna give you quality grade A service because that's just me.
Right.
I don't believe in half stepping because I wasn't raised that way. Again, like I said at the beginning, it goes back to your upbringing. See, those of us who have a sense of entitlement, you was raised that way. Your parents didn't discipline you enough or tell you no. Everything was yes. Or you had one of them parents that had the 16-hour job that all they did was buy you things to coddle you, but they didn't love you to sit down and talk to you and have conversations with you until you know you can't do it that way, Bookie. No, you can't have your little way, Shaquika. No, ma'am.
Okay, Shaquika, I was with you too.
But I'm just saying I'm saying all that to say we it starts in the home. Going like back at the beginning of our conversation, it all starts at home.
You got
However you
everything.
however you was raised at your household is how you're going to carry yourself 90% of the time to 100% of the time outside the home. It starts in your house. See, you can't. This is what I love about the Bible. You can't get around the Word of God. The Bible says, in order to have friends, you have to first show yourself what? Friendly. So that means if you got a stank behind attitude at home, baby, let me tell you, let me get close so you can see. You're gonna have that same stank attitude once you walk outside your front door. Don't get it twisted. Cause just because you got the weave, the lashes, the fresh fade, the new Jordans, the Air Max 95s, whatever it is, you just a nice looking person with a stank attitude. Cause you had that stank attitude where in that house.
Wow.
But see, again, the Bible is the roadmap, whether you agree with the Bible or not, or whether you say, oh, it was written by man, so was that self-help book. So was the Peloton commercials. So was the weight loss. So was Timu. So was TikTok. So was Facebook. All of that stuff was created by a man. So if that's your only argument, that's a mute point. The Bible is still the best-selling book in the world. Millions copies sold everywhere. That's on everybody's nightstand collecting dust right now. It's probably holding up your TV stand as we speak. But again, don't shoot me because I'm the messenger. It's not my message. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to stop giving that message because, again, we have to go back to the basics. Parents got to cut the TVs off, get off your Netflix, get off the Hulu, and get back to the basics. The reason why our kids are going by the wayside now because we so busy giving them iPads, the newest iPhones. They know more about a touchscreen than they know about communion. Then they know about fellowship. Then they know about meditating. That's why they running around crazy.
Do people go to church anymore? I mean, I know we go.
So this is the thing with that. This is the thing.
Because you know they got
Everybody,
service now.
but I'm gonna get to it. So when COVID hit, the worst thing that ever happened in history wasn't COVID. I'll tell you what it was. It was the churches closing down their doors during COVID. And here's the reason why. Because it gave every Ninja Turtle the excuse. It gave them the excuse and the justification to stay at home because I can watch I can watch them. I can catch it on the internet.
Yeah.
I can watch service on TV. Then they made it even better. You can send in your tithes and offering through Givelify, a nice little app. You ain't even got to mail your offering in. You can just tap it in. You can tap pay. So again, the enemy showed us how he's infiltrating even the church house. Don't ever get it twisted and think, oh, because you come to church that the devil don't show up too. He brought you there.
Damn.
But we don't want to talk about that. We don't want to talk about that. We don't want to bring up the fact that it's hellions right there on the same row that you sitting on. Because we always want to look at how painted up and let me just make it simple because I don't want to get in I don't want to get in a tangent. So let me try to keep it simple because I don't want to just go too far off and lose people. But
yeah, you and your cat win.
This is the thing, ladies and gentlemen. When we dress up these nice little temples that we in, because that's all we do. When we put our makeup on, when we get the smell goods together, when we put the lashes, all you're doing is dressing up your temple. That's it. But the thing is about a temple, there's a hollow point inside that temple. And if that hollow place inside that temple is not filled, then now you just have an empty shell. That's why you can be as dressed as you want to be, have the nicest as you want to have, and still bust hell wide open. Because Jesus even told the disciples, what does it profit a man to gain this whole world and lose his soul? Case in point, look at the situation right now that Puff Daddy is going through. He never thought that his life would be going upside down because you always thought that your defining moment was after the boy fired you and you started Bad Boy Records with Biggie, that the world was your oyster. But now look at you. The world ain't your oyster no more. See, now you're getting a glimpse of what Jesus went through during Holy Week when you went into Jerusalem being praised, but by the end of the week, they was crucifying you. They was taking you up Calvary's hill and putting you on a cross. See, people can change on you in a matter of an instant. That's why I say I'm going to try to keep this simple because I don't want to go too far because then y'all will take it as, oh, it's becoming too religious. No, ma'am, baby. I'll be the first believer to tell you I still sip my wine, I still smoke my cigarette, and occasionally you might see me twerk that thing. But at the end of the day, I still love Jesus. And I still know that I've been redeemed, forgiven, and I'm loved. So don't ever get it twisted. See, that's the problem with some believers. We quick to tell people what they cannot do, but we never remind them of the stuff that God freed you from that you're able to do. See, I don't knock you people who love the plant-based or the vegan, but baby, I was raised on fatbacks. I was raised on chitterlings, hog mouse, hog head cheese. Because this is the thing. God, when He freed us from everything. So how dare you try to come into my kitchen and tell me I shouldn't be frying grease and things like that? I used to clown and joke with my nephew when I first came to visit him in Ohio, and I said, "Oh, this is a nice little spice rack." But then when I taste the first meal, the kugel, I believe it was what he called it, didn't have no flavor. I said, well, is these just decoration or what is? You didn't use none of these the seasonings that's in here. You didn't tap the salt one time. But then on the flip side, the following year that I came back to his house and I cooked dinner for them, they ran out of my food. He was so mad that when he took me to the airport, he came back home. Somebody had went in his stash and ate the last of his cornbread dressing. Because again, sometimes we we get elevated and God bring us to that wealthy place, but then we forget where God brought us from. And sometimes we have to be reminded of where we are. And another movie that comes to mind when I think about that is that movie that they show all the time on BET called The Cookout with Calvin Johnson, where he was getting drafted into the NBA, but you came from this country bumpkin hood family with Ninja Turtles all over, but you done moved to the deluxe apartment to the east side, to the gated community, and now you upset at them because they acting themselves. But see, it was a reminder for Calvin Johnson where you come from. Cause you done got all high and mighty because you done got this big contract, but you forgot that you was little Cal, not Calvin, you was little Cal, the one sitting out on the porch talking to your grandpappy, chewing on a key piece of corn stalk and having a good old time. Because they done gave you a few millions, now you done got sedated because you got more bathrooms than you do bedrooms, so you done forgot where you come from. But I love his mama in that movie because his mama and his childhood friend had to bring him back down to earth, bring him back to reality. And just like the Bible say with the prodigal son, see, when you have that pig slop moment, you come back to yourself and remember, I had it better at home. See, when you really stop and get down to the nitty gritty, ladies and gentlemen, you start to realize all that stuff that you thought you needed, you really don't need. And that's the beautiful thing. If people actually step back and got outside of themselves during the pandemic showed you what was really important. You know what that was? Family. But you know how many families separated during pandemic? You had more divorces in the year 2020 than you've ever had in the last 15 to 20 years.
Because they had
Because here's the reason why. You had to deal with little poo poo and little Bookie more than you ever had to in your life because you couldn't go to that job unless you was what? Essential. So if
yeah,
you wasn't essential, your non-essential behind had to sit at home with them kids on their tablets trying to help them with their schoolwork. So no, you had to deal with the nonstop whining and crying and give me my toy and stop pulling my hair. You had to deal with all that. Then you had to turn around and deal with the spouse that you only saw at nighttime because they work 16-hour turnaround shifts. Hello, somebody. See,
yeah.
don't shoot me down because I'm preaching. I'm just being real.
I hear you.
Y'all, people lost good relationships because again, you took your eyes off the ball. See, that's the thing, and that's the beautiful thing about what God created as marriage. And the way to stay married is you have to be effective communicators. And that's what we're missing in today's society is communication. We're missing communication, accountability, and sympathy. Those three things are key to any relationship, whether it's marriage, family, friends, career, whatever it is. If you don't have sympathy, communicate, and accountability, you're screwed. Because you got to first look at self. Where did I mess up? Where did I make the mistake? How could I have handled that differently? One of my favorite scriptures in the Bible is Proverbs 15:1, where it says, a soft answer turns away wrath, but grievous words stir up anger. What that simply means is If you know Shaquita is popping off at the mouth, it take two to argue. Somebody got to be the bigger person and put pride to the side. So either that's gonna be you, because you know in that moment it's not Shaquita. She
Right.
going off. She going ham. She's standing on business. She went 0 to 100 real quick. But now in that moment, God gives you an opportunity of escape so that you're able to bear the situation. But now you have a choice because we all got free will. You either gonna get back with Shaquita and let her know A through Z, like you ain't gonna talk to me like that, or you gonna be the bigger person and be like, you know what? What are you really angry about? Because all this extra fire is not the issue. See, the beautiful thing about a flame is hottest at that blue tip. Don't look at the orange or the red or the roaring of the fire, because that's not where your heat source is. It's that blue tip. And 9 times out of 10, Shaquita done let you see what that blue tip was, but because you so focused on that outward expression, you forgot that she said, "You didn't tell me good morning before you left to leave for the day, or you didn't kiss me on my forehead, or you didn't hold me close before you left to leave for the day." All she wanted was some attention, something that she was used to and accustomed to. See, that's the thing. We can get so comfortable with things because when things are going so well, we get so complacent that we forget that it can all flip in a matter of a second.
That's true.
Because case in point, like I said, I just went through my own divorce and now child custody situation, but I never saw my June 16th playing out like that. Because for me, June 16th is the memorialization of when my dad passed. So I never saw June 16th of 2023 turning out the way it did. Because all I wanted to do was just enjoy my first Father's Day weekend, to take a 1 day to myself. So I thought that by bringing my wife at the time and my son to visit her side of the family, where I could just hang out with a couple of my friends and enjoy my little Friday night, my first Father's Day weekend, I thought I was doing something good, but it
So
wasn't good for me.
walk me through that. How did that even all come about? How did that
So,
was there
so me,
kind of leading to what happened?
so here's the thing in my situation. Me and my wife met during the pandemic, and we met through the little dating app or whatever. And yes, I can be honest and say that it was one of those whirlwind relationships, to whereas I met her in March of 2020. I proposed in May of 2020. We was married in October of 2020. And I did not pay attention to the red flags that were given, because at the time I was probably 33, 34, somewhere around there. So I was like, I wasn't really focused on so much being married, but I told God I wanted to be married because I always saw myself as a husband, as a father, as a provider, because that's what I was raised as. That's what I was raised to believe. That's what I saw portrayed in front of me. I
Yeah.
saw good marriages. I saw men being men. So I wanted that. I desired that. And I thought this was my good thing. So I never saw my June 16, 2023 playing out the way that it did. But a little backstory to that was in 2021, it was one of the hardest years of my life, because I never in a million years thought that my mom would pass, especially as quick as she did. Like she uh she injured herself in February 21 when they had that bad ice storm in Houston. The infection traveled through her blood. They ended up having to amputate one of her legs, and then, long story short, she ended up with sepsis and passing, all in a matter of 3 months' time, from February to April. So I
So
said all that to
from the
say,
ice storm that stemmed from the ice storm. That's
right. She fell during the ice storm and injured her toe. And because she was a diabetic, it didn't heal properly and it ended up infected. And well, the infection was so severe that they ended up having to amputate part of her leg. And because they did that, they thought that they had got the infection only for it to resurface in the bloodstream and start to shut down her organs. So, again, right after that happened, boom, me and my wife, we were already having those first year up and down marriage issues, and that was just the icing on the cake. Because at that point, I was just like, okay, you know what? Screw it. I'm just to wild out, and I just blame it on my mama passed. So I stopped being attentive and caring and concerned about her needs, and I was just focusing on me, trying to live single life, trying to live a double life. Be single and married at the same time. Don't mix. Don't work. It's not possible. Just like the Bible says, you can't be vacillating between two mindsets. You got to be one or the other. You
Right.
got to be hot or cold. You can't straddle the fence. God does not do straddlers. I'm sorry. It's just how it is. So I said all that to say she put me out of our apartment. We ended up separated for about 40 days. But in that time, God was dealing with me to help me to see where I messed up so that when I did come back home finally, I was a different husband. I was more attentive to her. I kept people out of our business and things were going great. Then in November of that same year, we get a phone call that my cousin and Louisiana mom had just passed. So when we left to go down there, she called me towards the middle of November when we was on our way to the funeral to let me know she was pregnant. Now, mind you, during that whole time, I'm thinking that because I never had gotten a woman pregnant up until that point, that I couldn't have kids. So the devil had me tricked. So when she said it, I'm like, okay, well, I'll see about it whenever we get back home. Because I even called you a couple of times to ask you, like, what does this mean? What does that mean? And things like that. Because I don't know nothing about that, like the girl said off of Gone with the Wind. I don't know nothing about birthing no babies, Miss Millie. But but anyway, I'm saying all that to say God blessed us because my wife at the time didn't think she could have children, and I for doggone sure didn't believe I could have none because when I first got my feet wet in that area, I didn't I didn't use protection all the time. So I knew one plus one equal baby. So whenever I didn't get nobody pregnant, I'm like, well, damn, I must be out here shooting up the club, right?
Yeah, you shooting lights.
But that's what I thought. So when she told me she was pregnant, well, again, I'm in school trying to finish up my air conditioning. By the way, if y'all need any air conditioning services, please reach out to me. I'm on all platforms, social medias. But anyway, I'm in here. I got like I told you earlier. We all have our mindset and our game plan. So my mindset and game plan was I was going to finish school, start doing my air conditioning work. Then we would try to start planning to have a family because
Yeah.
I wanted my XYZ to be in order. I wanted my ducks in a row. But life don't work that way. It's full of swift transitions, like the old folks used to say. So you just have to take life as life comes. You cannot. That's the one thing you can plan and prepare all day, every day for life, but life is gonna always throw you a curveball or the mystery box. You're never gonna get it perfect, and the day that you do, you should be scared because there is no perfect day. You're gonna have good days. You're gonna have a lot more good days than you do bad days, but there's no such thing as a perfect day. The reason I say that, case in point, living in Houston, Texas, we experience all four seasons of weather year round, especially in the downtown area. You can go from hot, cold, raining, windy, all that in a matter of a couple of hours or minutes, depending on where you are. You never know how to dress when you're in Houston.
That's Ohio too.
So
So
so I'm
where
yeah,
did
go
where,
ahead.
where did it Why did she want to leave?
So, to be honest with you, and those who may watch this later, I never got a clear answer on why she left and stayed gone 10 weeks with my son. The only thing she will ever say is she did what she thought was best at that time. Now, mind you, fast forward to 2023, we both new parents. So we both going through this whole experience together. Meanwhile, I'm over here trying to provide for my family and do the best as I can as a father and a spouse because, again, I'm not trying to put too much pressure on her because I already know you dealing with a lot because you were breastfeeding at the time and you already knew our situation. We were trying to get back into the house that my mom had left us. So it was a lot going on. And even in the early part of 2023, we chose to go to marriage counseling. So that's why I say all of these things leading up to June 16th, it threw me off because the week before she did what she did, we had literally just went to a marriage counseling session with my pastor, and she sat in front of the pastor and said out of her own mouth that she would never leave the marriage, that she was staying in the marriage. Only to the following week, you leave the marriage. And so it was frustrating to me because over the next 10 weeks of that time, I didn't talk to her. I didn't get to see my child. I missed his first birthday. I missed my first Father's Day. Then I even had a young lady try to blackmail me because I guess my ex-wife decided she was going to stay at a domestic violence shelter, even though you had no proof of domestic violence, whether it was verbal or even physical. She told me in no uncertain terms if I cashed out her money, that she would let me know where they were. So I felt like I was in a Lifetime movie special, and like Tyler Perry had came and did a movie and didn't tell me
That is
because that's how my life went.
right.
So from June until today, I've been dealing with a whole new world that I never thought I would be experiencing. I always dreamed to be married to one person and die with that same person. Like I never expected to have my parents' story be my story. I never thought that they would correlate or be the similar. But I'm saying all that to say, as an encouragement, that if God has kept me and I've still been able to move forward, then you have no excuse. Going back to what I told you about you taking lemons and opening up a lemonade corporation, I meant that genuinely because you had every valid excuse. You had the justification. You had absent parent. You had the struggle of a single household income. You had all of that. You had all the excuses to not go forward. But you didn't let none of that stop you. Even even when you had family that discouraged you marrying who you married, you still kept going forward. So a part of that is it that's so I want to say this much as I try to bring this to a close and make it all make sense. I want to say this as an encouragement. We all have that dog inside of us. You have two dogs inside of you, or whatever animal you choose to your animal. You're gonna either feed one and starve the other, or you're gonna starve the one and feed the other one. But one of those dogs is gonna always show up. And I'm a firm believer today that I want to continue to allow faith to show up in my life. And what I mean by that is I refuse to allow my current situation or circumstances dictate my future. Because as long as God give me breath in my body, there's always opportunity for a turnaround. You always have the opportunity for a comeback. And I feel like I'm the comeback kid because Everything that I've gone through in my life up until this point was meant to break me or take me out. I lost my father at 14 years old the day before Father's Day. I found my grandmother dead the same year that I graduated high school, right after finishing a summer camp at my church. So I'm saying that all to say I've had to walk away from family members and loved ones because I had to do what was right. So again, you have to decide, are you going to let faith rise up in you, or are you going to allow fear to show up? Because they can't both show up at the same time. You're going to allow one or the other. And you have to decide, and it's not just a one-time thing. This is a daily, hourly, minute, or even seconds. You have to decide who's gonna show up. Is faith showing up or fear gonna show up? Whether you're a believer in God or Jesus, or whether you believe in something else.
Mhm.
At the end of the day, you should still believe in yourself because that's the only person you got to convince. That's the only person that you can never get away from. It's self. So as long as I'm pleasing to myself, excuse my language, but fuck what you think. Yes, I'm big. I got it honest. This came honest. This right here came honest. I like to eat. So what? I don't know about no NGMO. Maybe that's one of them alphabets from the other community. They can keep them. I like my fat. I like my hog. I like my pork. I like bacon, especially if it's fried and crispy. I love that. I like the little drizzle of the grease coming down. But I'm saying that to say, stop letting people dictate your joy, your peace, your happiness. God gave that to you. So stop letting other people dictate and tell you, this is how you're supposed to be joyful. This is how you're supposed to have peace. That's a lie from the pits of hell. And I'm here to tell you that to your face. That's a lie. If nobody ever liked your post, so what? Did you like it? Because 9 times out of 10, whatever I post, I'm posting one to remind myself because sometimes God will give me something and I don't have a pen and a pad to write it down. So I post it. I don't always post it for likes because I used to live my life like that. Oh, ain't nobody liking my post. I got one or two comments. Oh, and then I'm looking over here. But that's the thing. See, that's the problem with us as society. We'll like the no diddy text or the things like that. But anything uplifting, nobody likes it. Nobody reads it. Ain't nobody gonna post that. People might not even watch this podcast because again, we like drama, we like mess, we like to be entertained. But the Bible said we was gonna be that type of generation when the end comes. We were gonna have the itching ear. We want the feel good message. See, you want me to tell you something. You want me to be like the boy off Players Club, do something make you feel good. Well, I ain't gonna do nothing to make you feel good because that's not gonna be pleasing to my father. So I gotta tell you at the end of the day what's right, whether you like it or not.
You ain't gonna be St. Louis.
Yeah, I'm not going to give you nothing to make you feel good. But I guarantee you, if you take what I'm telling you tonight on this podcast and you try to apply even just a little bit of this to your life situation, I guarantee you have my word that you will come out better on the other side because I'm a living witness. Even even my nephew will tell you he's a living witness. We don't look like what we've been through. See, I might be sitting in this room with these doctor's office paint job and the baby crib behind me, but you would know that I was a first time business owner. And it ain't about being a black business. I I've done something that my father dreamed of having, his own business. So you can't take my stuff from me. That's the one thing my grandfather, and I'm gonna close with that. The one thing my grandfather used to instill in us growing up was a person can never take what's up here. What I mean by that is the more knowledge and wisdom you gain, the world can't take that from you. They can take everything else, but you can't arrest this. They can lock up your body. They can put you out their club. They can block you from their social. They can fire you from that job. They can divorce you. They can take the house, the kids. Everybody in this world can walk away from you, but they can't touch this. And as long as you got this intact, you can get back everything that the enemy took from you and more. Because that's the one beautiful thing at the end of the day, in closing, because I know I'm a minister, so I got to bring it all back to closing.
No, no,
In
no.
closing, I just want to say this as I take my seat. Um, when God restores you, He does not restore you to your factory default setting, as some people might believe. See, when God does a thing, He has to do it better because you have to know without a refutable question in your mind that it was Him who did it. And so, what I mean by that is, you might have lost 60%. God is going to restore you 100%. What I mean by that, you might have, for instance, lost a car, lost a job, lost a house. Well, God is now going to give you a better vehicle. He's going to give you a career or a position of influence, and then he's gonna probably give you an even better house. Because if he just gave you back factory default setting, yeah, he God, that would be just enough. But you would think you did it. You would think you did it on your own accomplishments or your own goodness. No. I remember one time I told my nephew that, and I hope I can use his story, but I'm bringing it to a close. I remember the day that my nephew told me that he was pregnant, well, that his wife was pregnant with their firstborn child. And when I went to see them in 2018 in Ohio, and we had our talk outside the house, I told him, I said, the reason, Xavier, God blessed you with your son, because you're not going to outdo God. See, the first baby was done through man's hands. It didn't knock that they didn't have faith, but they trusted what the doctors told them. Well, this is the way that y'all can get this done. You say you want a baby, this is our route. This is our way to get you that baby. God said, y'all not gonna outdo me. Not only am I gonna give you a child, I'm gonna give you your first male child. And it's gonna come naturally. With that little song by R. Kelly, bumping and grinding, it's gonna come naturally. You ain't gonna have to give no shots, you're gonna be taking shots. Oh, Jimmy Walker. We'll talk about that another time. But
Hey,
anyway, all I want to say as an encouragement, ladies and gentlemen, whether you're a believer, whether you're not a believer, my message tonight was not one to lead you to Christ. If that happened, great. There's people you can talk to or reach out to your local church for that situation. My message on tonight was one of an encouragement because I want to let people know that it's okay to fail, first and foremost, but don't ever feel like you are a failure. It's okay to have failures, but don't let your failures have you. Secondly, don't let people run you out of your process. Take whatever time you need, go through whatever you got to go through, and allow yourself to have your process. And lastly, stop beating yourself up. Nobody's perfect. Like the song say, ain't nobody perfect. You gonna search this whole world and you'll never find one person. And if they say they perfect, you need to run because they lying. They deceiving you. There is nobody perfect except for the one who came here and is soon to return here. But those are my three things. That's all the encouragement I wanted to offer. And I hate that it took me an hour to get to it, but those are my 3 points.
nah, I
Take
appreciate
take your process, stop beating yourself up, and it's okay to have failures. Use those as stepping stones and building blocks to build your lemonade empire to get to where you're going. Because I guarantee you, if you ask any entertainer, any celebrity, any person that you think has arrived, they will all tell you the same thing. I had to learn how to fail. Michael Jordan didn't make every shot, but he was a team player. He never gave up. He kept going. So that's the moral of this whole hour long conversation is to keep going. Keep going down that road to see what the end gonna be. I guarantee your ladder is gonna be greater. And I'm saying that in Jesus' name. And that's my time. Thank you. You've been a great audience.
Amen. Amen. I just want to say thank you again for coming on the podcast, man. I enjoyed that. I felt like at moments you was having your Cat Williams moment. I just let I always
and my Ray Charles.
a good
Ah.
a good interview will let the interviewee speak and let them do their thing. Like I said, the people are here for you, not for me so much. So I definitely love that you was able to get whatever it is that was off your chest, influence, inspire, and motivate people. So yeah, like I said, guys, if you enjoyed that, please leave a like, comment, and definitely subscribe to the channel. Thank you again for visiting Studio X27. I am your host.
And like I said, if you need that air conditioner worked on, let me know. Get your boy.
Medrick, everybody. One.